This episode is brought to you by Amazon Video Games. Visit bit.ly/Amazon Backlog Battle, all one word, when you buy anything from Amazon so we can continue offering our back catalog of shows.
This is the Backlog Battle Podcast, episode 180.
Don't be like Christopher Nolan.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Backlog Battle Podcast. This is Alex.
And this is Anthony.
What's going on, sir?
It's been a long time since we've done this.
4 weeks, in fact. It's kind of
We've had some, but you've listened to some of our adventures, Alex not being on a show and things like that.
And many guests, you know, like we've been riddled with guests over the past couple of weeks, but, you know, happy
Rubicon.
to say. Yeah, Rubicon. Down Phoenix, you know, like that stuff. But that being said, though, like I do want to kind of say, like, you know, that hopefully you guys enjoyed all those episodes. We've enjoyed them quite a bit, but it's back to being Anthony again. So hooray! Yeah, that's the most important thing. So, you know, before we continue, Anthony, I do want to kind of address one thing.
Ooh.
So, about a month or two ago, we teased you guys and never spoke of it again that, you know, we were having a giveaway. Now, the only way that you can enter this giveaway is if you actually wrote down a review on iTunes so that you can participate in the raffle, right? Like, so basically, because we basically, like, you know, said, like, look, man, like, if you really help us out, you know, write some iTunes reviews. iTunes is where we are, you know, like, where we're getting all our downloads. Like, 99% of the downloads come from iTunes. So it's really, really important we get the reviews. Yeah. So what happened was that we did get reviews, right? And from 2 people. And since we had prizes for exactly 2 people, we basically gave them the prize. And I just want to take this opportunity to congratulate Naruto Ace, or Lewis, as, you know, we call him, and Super TK Gamer, who have actually received brand spanking new codes for the Dissidia NT closed beta on the PS4. So congratulations, you guys deserve it. I just emailed them, like, their prizes and stuff. And Anthony, we're both going to be playing the closed beta, right? Like, you know, got some codes
I got to download it tonight.
Yeah, well, it's not out tonight, sadly. It's still a ways away, but in August we'll be able to play it. So,
gotcha.
Yeah, I'm excited because, like, it's a team-based version of Dissidia that we know on the Vita and PSP, and it's made by Team Ninja, of all people.
Oh, shit, and they make good fighting games.
Yeah, they do. And, you know, and Neo this year was really, really good, you know? So
they got rid of that. Dude, they needed to get rid of that one guy.
Oh, God. You know what's really sad is, like, you know, we talk about that guy so much for a time, right? Now I don't even remember his name. All I know is, like, he made that Devil's Third game, which was really, really bad, and he still defends that game to the death. I don't know why.
And it's rare.
Yeah. Is it really?
Collectors. Yeah, it's like one of the few modern collectors in that collector scene.
Holy shit. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, again, congratulations to Lewis and Super TK Gamer. I hope you guys enjoy, you know, Dissidia NT when it comes out, you know, as far as, like, the closed betas are concerned. And remember, guys, if you guys want to actually, like, participate in any future raffles, remember, always stay tuned to the podcast, because we're always, you know, trying to get you guys to participate a little bit more and stuff. So these guys are deserving of their prizes. So thank you very much for that. But anyways, moving along, we haven't seen each other we haven't talked to each other in 4 weeks. We haven't actually really seen each other for quite a long time.
We've never seen each other in 8 years except on videos.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, we haven't actually seen each other. Yeah. So, but how you been, man? What's been in your gaming palette lately?
Ooh.
Yeah.
7.
Tekken 7, you mean?
Yeah, a lot of Tekken 7. A lot of Tekken 7. That's been my new addiction this year. And I have a review of it today, so we'll talk more about that. Yeah, we have a review. Hooray. Wow. And then I'll talk some Fire Emblem Echoes and the new Injustice characters.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And one other thing, though. There are new Street Fighter 5 characters. There's a new Street Fighter 5 character.
Mm-hmm.
So, Yeah. I can't really say anything. Maybe next week, though.
Yes. So before we continue, I know like I've been stopping like our conversations about games, but I do want to point out that Anthony is experiencing some technical issues on his end, so he might be cut off from time to time. I might have to reiterate some of the things that he said, so I do apologize like in advance for that. We're working on it. So that being said, I'm kind of excited about your Tekken 7 review because it seems like you have been really, really getting into it a bit lately. So why don't we just jump into that?
I have a rant first. We need to talk about this.
Okay, I guess let's talk about the rant first.
Okay. So, who's heard the news about Atari's new console?
Oh my god. What do they call it?
I don't know what the fuck. It just looks like a 2600 with USB ports and an HDMI port.
Man, I've seen the artwork. Like they have like this, wood paneling in the front, and it looks very, appropriately old school but smaller version of like the Atari 2600. And I'm like, I don't know about this.
Yeah, I don't know about it either, because here's the thing. Is it what is it? Is it like an NES Mini or SNES Mini, or is it in between like an Ouya, or is it a full console? I doubt it's a full console.
They said and claimed that it's going to play modern games as well as old games, which immediately I rolled my eyes and thought it was going to be the next Ouya, which I think it's going to be an Ouya.
There's no room in the console market. You have to be a super big company to take that risk.
Mm-hmm.
And Atari is a brand that went bankrupt in 2012. So it's... And what's bugging me about this is what's pissing me off. I watch some mainstream news media, NBCs and shit. Mm-hmm. Here's the problem. They're all making a big deal out of it.
Well, but remember, these are news sites that have absolutely zero idea what they're talking about, right? Like, just because it's video games, they think like, oh, it's going to be the next, like, I don't know, Flappy Bird or the next Candy Crush, even though they have zero idea of what it's all about. It's a lot of fluff and, like, now, here's the thing, like, I don't want to poo-poo the thing before it comes out, but...
Oh, I'm going to poo-poo it.
But, but here's the thing, here's the reality of the situation, right? The fact of the matter is they haven't spoken at all of what it's capable of, and it's a lot of like promise. The last time we kind of heard something along those lines is the Ouya, which of course never went anywhere, right? So I think we're about like at this point in video games that we'd much rather see what you can come up with and actually demonstrate it as opposed to a lot of fluff and just lies, I guess.
Right.
Right.
You know what a lot of people use their Ouyas for? That I know?
Emulation and piracy, right?
Yup, that's what the Ouya is used for. Yeah. A lot of people still buy the Ouya just for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a piracy box. That's basically like what people use the Ouya for, and it's really sad because, right? It's oh man, it's funny because like you say oh yeah.
The Poya.
Man, it's is it called the Ataribox or is it called the Atari? I don't even know what it's actually called. Do you know?
It's a massive... Nope, I just know it's a massive piece. I'll tell you, it's not a real console though, dude. It doesn't seem like one to me.
Yeah,
that's what it doesn't seem like. Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like I'm not feeling it, Alex.
Well,
I'm not feeling it.
It's hard. It's kind of hard to feel for something that you haven't played in like almost more than 2 decades now. I feel like
the Jaguar.
Well, I mean, I'm just talking about like the power of this thing, right? I doubt it could deliver like Jaguar graphics or whatever, even, like I mean, think about it, right? Like, look at what it looks like. It doesn't even look like a Jaguar. It looks like an Atari 2600. If that's the case, then what, they're gonna be proud to like power like Atari 2600 games with like shitty ass like frame rate and all that stuff. Like, I mean,
you know what it is? It's the console equivalent of Ready Player One. It builds on your nostalgia just to give you a piece of shit story.
Ouch.
Fuck that book, and I don't care Spielberg's directing the movie. I don't know why. I fucking am. It bothers me because that book sucks.
I saw like a still of it, and I have a friend who was actually composing music for it. So, but as far as the movie goes, like I'll have to wait and see. But so is your rant pretty much done? I mean, it's not much of a rant. It's more like disdain towards like the Atari box. I'll call it the Ataribox because really that's what it is.
It needs to prove itself. If it can somehow get on equal footing with the PS4 or even the Xbox, I'll consider it a real console. Will I purchase it? Probably not. Because even if it's on equal footing of an Xbox, which now we see how the Xbox is doing, nuh-uh. So there you go.
Well, I mean, okay. I mean, I feel like even the Xbox One is too high of a margin to try to, fight with, right? How about like we just match it up with the PS TV? Because it's pretty much the lowest of the totem pole as far as like all the other consoles.
PS TV,
yeah. So, I mean, if it can match the PS TV in terms of like sales and, like mind share, maybe it's worth like talking about. But as of right now, the conversation isn't even worth mentioning.
Nope.
So yeah, but I do want to kind of, extend the question to our audience just to kind of make sure like maybe we're just being too biased about this and stuff. If people are actually excited about the Atari box, or if you guys have any thoughts about it, remember, email us podcast@mybacklogbattle.tv. Let us know if you're excited about it, what your thoughts are, if you agree with us, because really like it's difficult to not be pessimistic about this thing.
Very pessimistic about it.
Yeah, we've been burnt before. We don't want to be burnt again. So speaking of movies, Anthony.
Oh,
this is not really like a video game thing, so I do apologize in advance. I actually retweeted an article from Polygon of all places. Ooh, like that's a place that
that's a great site.
Yeah. But it's kind of interesting because like they tweet everything. It seems like it's like, okay, video games cool, geek stuff cool, movies cool, and this is more about the movies, which to me it's kind of crazy, right? Basically, like it was like a weird headline saying that Christopher Nolan says like he refuses to work with Netflix because Netflix wants to kill movies, and I want to tie this back to video games. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? Like,
look, the movie theater experience is never going to go away. No matter how modern technology it is. Here's the thing. The movie theater experience is always going to be exclusive to the movie theater because its technology is always changing. Mm-hmm. It's a different experience. You don't get the same experience when you're at home.
Right.
So it's always going to be unique. So I don't know what the fuck he's talking.
Yeah, and that's kind of the crazy part, right? And he loves like IMAX, as you know, right? And I'm a huge fan of Christopher Nolan. Somehow you become less of a fan over the years. I have a suspicion as to who has changed their opinion.
But changed my opinion.
I'm not going to tell you now. But I got to say, like, this is the hype. I tweeted this before. This is some bullshit hyperbolic, mumble that does not create any sort of, like, constructive conversation, right? Like, you know what this reminds me of, Anthony?
What does it remind you of?
Do you know like all those conversations about how the PS4 and the Xbox One is going to kill PCs forever, and how PC gaming is going to kill consoles forever and all that stuff? This really annoyed the shit out of me because it reminded me of those conversations.
Oh yeah.
Up to this day, we have yet to see the death of PC and console gaming.
They're both alive and well. Thriving.
It's been about like 15 years, I think, ever since these predictions have happened. And, people are still like, well, like consoles are getting more expensive, which, by the way, they've actually lowered in price from the previous generation. It used to be $500-$600. Now it's like $400. And, well, the Switch is like still $300. So, okay, sure. And, and it's adapting, right? Like the console market is adapting, and PCs, have just gotten way better, right? Technology wise. The whole problem with with PCs in general is that they've reached like the max in terms of like clock speed. And now they have to kind of really, in order to kind of like really, like draw more power, per silicon and stuff, they have to like look at things like quantum computing, which I think that's like very science fiction based and stuff.
What? What's that?
Quantum? I don't know, dude. Like quantum computing, what it reminds me of is like time travel and shit like that, which I'm like, wait, what? Like, come on. Like, I don't think it's really that, right? Like, I'm not knowledgeable on the thing, but like I've read many people saying like in order to kind of like really extract a lot more from silicon, they have to like do like some weird manufacturing process, which I don't know, quantum computing. It is very science fiction based, but like in terms of its term, I mean, fuck, like last time I heard the word quantum, it was like what, like associated with Quantum Leap. It's like that show from the 90s. Yes, I'm that old, people.
Yes, Quantum Leap
is an old show that I actually don't even watch. I just know it exists, So anyways, we've kind of rounded out back to, video games. Thanks, Christopher Nolan, for being like a PC/console master race hater. I don't think that actually makes sense.
I know a couple of them.
But like, it's yeah, don't do this, guys. Don't be like Christopher Nolan. In any case, do you want to talk about Tekken 7? Because I'm really, really wanting to talk to you about Tekken 7.
Really? Tekken 7, yes. Let's talk about Tekken 7, gangster.
Well, fuck yeah, because like EVO like ended this past weekend, and I am so excited to talk to you about this because Tekken 7 actually delivered some of those most exciting matches in that EVO. Like,
hell yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but this is one of the best features I feel Tekken 7 has. When there is a potential for a last hit and there is an opportunity for potentially a trade that might happen,
slow down.
Yeah, Tekken 7 will slow down the animation and zoom in so that you could see the final hit. And I thought that is such a simple change to fighting games. I thought that actually heightened the excitement of it. And
it makes me nervous. It happens a lot in that freaking game.
But that's so good though, like, because like it's a different feeling than most of like your entire match, right? It's suspenseful. Like I've never like. I mean, yes, there's suspense when it comes to like, trying to battle with like a sliver of life, trying to get like this guy's health all the way down, right? But it's a different kind of suspense because now it's like it's almost time froze, right? And then you see the animation running, and then all of a sudden, boom, like either you win or the other person wins. But here's the thing that's crazy, Anthony. At EVO, the slowdown happened during one of the most critical matches of the top 8. And guess what happened?
What happened?
A double knockout happened. And when the slowdown happened, people thought like, who's going to win? Is it going to be this guy or the other guy? And then all of a sudden, they both just fell over and it says double knockout. And the entire roof like just flew off of that fucking arena. It was amazing.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
And that's why like I watch EVO. Like I'm not gonna pretend like I'm like a pro gamer or gonna be like one of those guys, right? But there is sheer excitement every time you watch a fighting game happen, even at the highest level, right? Like it makes you want to play that game, and being you, like, you actually have Tekken 7, and I wouldn't, I'll be honest, I'm not planning to buy the game at any time soon, but damn, did that want to make me actually like pick up a controller and play Tekken 7? Holy shit.
Tekken 7 it's a really good game.
Yeah.
It's a really good game. But if you're a Tekken fan, it still has the imbalance issues that it does. Like Law has a hit that'll take half your life away. So there you go. Those power hits. That's what one of the things Tekken is known for.
Right. It is interesting though, like that it still exists, but I feel like if you played Tekken long enough, you'll eventually know how to counteract them, right? Like, because the thing is that's different, with Tekken and most 3D fighting games, and I think that this is kind of like what separates it, obviously, from like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, is you can sidestep, and
for sure,
that's a huge thing that makes it different, like, and also the rolling, like recovery and all that stuff, like that's all Tekken, that's all originated from Tekken, and I feel like at a high level, like you could almost do anything. I mean, I told you the other day that Jack 7 was in the top 2 in the grand finals, right? That's insane. Like,
I'm surprised no Lucky Chloe's made it. Fuck that character. But
one Lucky Chloe made it to top 8, but they got wrecked. They totally got wrecked. So again, it's like, it's proof that it's not necessarily the character. Like, the tier list for characters doesn't really fucking matter, because if you can't actually eke out like the potential of that character, then you're not playing at the highest level. You can't, like, it doesn't matter like who they are, like if you remember, like, there was we've talked about like many fighting games in the past and stuff, but there's always been, like, at the launch of a game, there's always those like characters that quote unquote seem OP, but then as time goes on, as more people use them, because you've encountered them so much, you know how to counteract them, And I feel like, when you talk about Lucky Chloe, that's going to happen to that character.
It's going to happen. Remember, the game's still a month and a half old, barely.
Yeah, on consoles. Because it's been in arcades, yeah. So
Yeah. So Tekken 7, the presentation of it is amazing. That opening movie is fucking awesome. And I think the thing about Tekken, because there's something really cool about it, and I'll talk about it in a minute, but about the history of Tekken, having been a fan since the original 20 years ago or so. Holy fuck, since I was 14, I'm old.
Dude, we
being
both
a fan,
are.
I know. 1995-96, the thing about those Tekken games was, and the place, the arcade versions were very bare's bones. When they didn't have any endings in the arcade mode. They had one little opening movie, and that was about it. But then when the home versions came out, they really enhanced it. And that's the thing about Tekken, I think. They changed home ports of fighting games. They changed them. They revolutionized home ports of fighting games.
Right.
And a lot of people forget that, because when you look at Tekken 1, it not only had the arcade opening, but it had an opening movie exclusive to the home version. And then every Tekken since then has always done that. Because Tekken's one of the few fighters, real quick, that still originate in the arcades.
Yes.
Let's not forget that too.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of funny you mention that, because I feel like that Namco, unfortunately killed the arcade. And, it sounds like a leap in logic, but if you think about, like, the game that they released on the Dreamcast, this little game called Soul Calibur, right?
Yes.
It was so much better than the arcade Soul Calibur in terms of, like, not only its looks, but also graphically, that why would you go to an arcade to play that game when you have a home console that can play the best version of that game,
Tekken Tag, that happened.
Yeah, Tekken Tag, that happened as well. Like, the best version was on the PS2, which is kind of nuts,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what they did. They had those openings. Now, one thing that's cool about Tekken 7 is it has a gallery. And as you play the game, you get fight money, and you get fight money as abundance. Fighters money, or the crystals in Injustice, where you don't get them you get very little. You get fucking tons of it. And you use that to unlock, there's a customization mode to unlock clothing for your character, and do that to open stuff in the gallery. And what the gallery has is the opening movies, and all the endings to every single Tekken game.
Wow. That's cool.
You unlock them. And then they have a miscellaneous one, and 1 through Tekken 6. Not only do they have those, but they also have the movies for Tekken Tag and Tekken Tag 2.
Holy shit, that's kind of nuts.
So, and then each game is represented. What's cool is the Tekken story is actually not bad. I always kind of like the Tekken. It has the worst family in history, the Mishimas, but that's okay because that's what Tekken's about. Am I not right?
Yeah, I mean, they're all like connected to the devil. Like, you know, they have like the devil gene, right? That's the story.
Yeah, they all have devil genes and they summon demons and then here's the crazy thing. Hayachi and fucking Kazuya have this throwing people off cliff fetish. So so you know, like when Kazuya is a little kid, he gets thrown off a cliff. When Hayachi gets beaten in Tekken 1, he gets thrown off a cliff. Then Hayachi beats Kazuya and throws him into a fucking volcano. Then Kazuya gets cloned again or something. I don't remember, but something.
I mean, like, you know, I admire the Tekken series story because it knows that it's a story that shouldn't take itself seriously. That's why we have 7 versions of Jack. That's why we have angels and devils and kangaroos. Oh no, we don't have Roger.
We don't know Roger in this game,
but we do have bears. You know, both Panda and Kuma. You know, in there. I seriously thought they were going to bring Gon in here. That would have been hilarious.
One interesting note about Gon.
Uh-huh.
His ending movie is absent from Tekken. And I know why, too.
Is he like a licensed, like a copyrighted character?
Yeah. Yeah, so he's the only, as far as I know, and if anyone notices anything else, you could tell us, but he's the only character ending that's not in in the gallery.
Okay.
And that's one thing that's been interesting about Tekken. Every game has in some way tried to celebrate its history, dating back to Tekken 3, because Tekken 3 had a similar feature where if you own Tekken 1 or 2, there was a theater mode. It would allow you to open the disc, take out the Tekken 3 disc, and then you could put in the Tekken 2 and watch all the movies.
That's cool.
You remember that? And then Tekken 5 kind of took it to a different level, even a level that Tekken 7 didn't, where it had Tekken now mind you, it had the arcade ports of Tekken 1 through 3 plus that space game that Namco, not Galaga, the other one, the 3D one. You know which one I'm talking about? When they made stuff like Cyber Sled and shit.
I think so. I just don't remember the name.
Star Warrior or some fucking shit. Anyway. That you could play the arcade versions of those games, but I remember clearly that if you beat them, they didn't have the endings, so it was a straight arcade port.
Okay.
So there's that, but then this one has all of endings and movies. They don't have the games, but you can watch them, and it's really cool because I have a lot of nostalgia for Tekken 1 through 3, particularly.
Yeah. And
I love watching those movies. And what's cool is seeing how much the CG improved from Tekken 1 through 3. Like Michelle, you know, like they try to make her sexy with the cutoffs and stuff. Right. And with her so blocky, it's fucking hilarious how goofy she looks. So I don't know. That's the gallery mode. But let's talk about the game itself, right?
So, okay, let me ask you this question because you are going to go into the gameplay. What is the rage meter? Because I mean that's brand new to 7, right? Like, or am I wrong?
I think there was something like that in 6.
Okay.
I don't remember. It's been forever since I played 6. But the rage meter it does one of two things. It does this rage thing where it'll like just do a couple hits and you can continue a combo. The other thing it does is there's a rage attack, which is essentially a super move.
Oh, okay.
Now, I don't mind it because when that rage goes, that can change everything. Now, I have a friend that, you know, a good friend of mine, and I see his point, though. He doesn't like the rage meter because he thinks it's more productive to the super meter.
Okay.
So the rage meter, think of it in the same vein as you do with the limit break in Final Fantasy VII. The more hits you take, you get angry, and you could do a super attack. And he thinks that you should earn that super attack as in Street Fighter. But you got to keep in mind, Street Fighter 4, which I did play this weekend, I played the 3DS version, which is bad, actually. Keep in mind that it both had a super meter and a rage meter.
Right.
Remember that. But the rage meter works differently. The rage meter in Street Fighter 4 built up, you know, as you got hit. Right. In Street Fighter 5, you have to hit a certain threshold in health, and then you use. And It can, I don't know. I don't mind it. It doesn't feel like bullshit to me. You just have to be conscious that they're going to use that when they're at.
Right. It adds an element of danger, right? Like it adds an element of suspense. And the thing is that's kind of crazy is it's almost like a psychological like tick in the, you know, in the defender's head that, by the way, I can release something that could totally fuck up your strategy. And I think that, you know, like for Tekken specifically, that strategy actually pretty much works because you can even the playing field really, really quick.
A lot of players like to just drive into combos. Boom, boom, just drive into fucking combos, especially juggles. Right. And I have on multiple occasions used the rage in a break of a combo to fucking fuck them up. And what'll happen is there's those occasions where they can still get one hit on you and it'll. But oftentimes it'll hit you like they'll do in the combo and only that first hit, and then you'll hit them and they're fucked.
Right.
But something interesting about it that I've noticed is Tekken's big on juggles, right? So what I noticed is if a lot of players try to do, but it fails, and I picked up on this, is say you juggle, and this happens in Street Fighter 5 or any Street Fighter, when you hit an enemy in the air and you proceed to do super move because they're vulnerable to it, obviously, right? It'll hurt them. But what I noticed in Tekken 7, if you do that with the rage meter, it does less damage as opposed when they're on the ground on their 2 feet.
Right. It scales dramatically.
Oh, yeah. It does a lot less damage when they do that. And there's a lot of people who still try to do that and they don't understand. And that's cost them matches when they've done it to me when they try to juggle me and get that free hit.
Yeah.
So using the rage meter isn't exactly the easiest thing. Even if it has the one button activation, it still can be difficult.
Right.
That's tech.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned all these things because it didn't strike me that, again, like the game is unbalanced. It's more like, you know, it's suffering the growing pains of a fighting game that just came out, right? Which is to say people are still unfamiliar with matchups, which is always going to be a problem for a fighting game. Heck, it even happened in ARMS, right? And even it happened in you know, the Smash Brothers that we talked about for the Wii U.
It happens in every fighting game.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm an advert and defender of Street Fighter 5, because everyone took the growing pains of that game so seriously. You know what I mean?
Right.
And there are just some fighting games, in my opinion, that haven't grown, like King of Fighters 14. I think it's, you know, compared to Injustice 2, Street Fighter 5, and Tekken 7, you know, in the last, let's say, span of a year, okay? Span of a year, it's the weakest of those games because that game is terribly imbalanced still.
Yeah, the growth of that game is super slow, right? Like, you know, they're going into a game like literally a game where, in terms of like competition, where you have people actually like scrutinizing every single thing in a fighting game, even the frames of animation. And, you know, being, you know, this is like the first, you know, like King of Fighters in a while, right? Like, I mean, I don't know when 13 happened and stuff, really. I don't keep track of the series. It's, you know, like back in the day, you can kind of get away with like, oh, we'll release like an update next year or something like that. But, you know, like we have a very strongly critiquing audience now as part of like the fighting game community. And really, like, everybody is part of the fighting game community, whether or not you identify as part of the FGC or not, right? As long as you play fighting games, you are part of it.
Yep.
That can be very condescending, especially, like, if you can't get your shit together really quickly, you know? Tekken 7 got their shit together first in the arcade. That's where they balance things out, and then they decide, all right, home version, let's do it, right?
And I also think Injustice 2 is going through the same thing because they really have balanced it even with its gear.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Helped it yeah. So Injustice 2 is growing really quick. Street Fighter 5 grew really quick. It had to. And I'm not saying, again, let me re-emphasize something. I'm not saying everyone that complained about Street Fighter 5 is a moron or anything. I think a lot of the complaints for that game we both had. Let's be honest. But Street Fighter 5 got their shit together, that people who still complain about it today and refuse to play it because it's, you know, the edgy thing to do. You need to actually, if you own the game, take a step back and look at it. It's not the same game it was a year ago. Even like 6 months after it's released a year ago from here. Right. It's a different game. So So yeah, that I think that's the strength of those games as opposed to King of Fighters 14, which again I will say is the weakest fighting game this gen. Tekken 7 is just, but it's also different from its predecessors though. Let's keep that in mind. And this is part of a mild complaint, but it's rectified in a way. The arcade mode is pointless. I'll be honest, it's pointless. Yes, it has little cut scenes and things like that, but there's no individual endings. Like there have been in other Tekken games. There's just not. I played arcade mode once, and it's not the lifeblood of that.
But do you get like some like fight money still? Like when you
you do. But it's not even the best way.
Oh, okay.
The arcade mode is kind of pointless. There's really no reason for me to. I play a lot of treasure mode though. There's a lot of reason to play that because you unlock a lot of stuff. Clothing and stuff like that. Treasure mode's worth playing, so that's worth it. And treasure mode is kind of neat because what treasure mode is you beat enemies and you unlock boxes, but there's certain things that'll happen. You'll have an offline rank for treasure mode that'll go up. It's like that first dan shit and first you know what I'm talking about,
right?
So you go through that, and as you go through that mode, your enemies actually, what's cool, one thing that I admire about treasure mode is as your rank goes up, the enemies do get increasingly more difficult. So it is akin to playing online in a way. It's the closest an offline mode has gotten to online, except you get a lot of treasure, and there's different things that happen, like there's special stipulation. There's a speed one. So sometimes you'll go and they'll say, this is a speed match. Characters just move faster, right?
Kind of like the modifiers in Injustice, it sounds like.
Yeah, they're not as crazy as the ones in Injustice, though. The ones in Injustice 2 get fucking nuts. There's ones where your characters are upside down in gravity, and there's really like batshit ones in that game.
Right.
In this game, it's more like speed and double damage are the only ones that I can recall. And then there's special battles where you fight a specially modified version of the final boss of arcade mode, and I would assume story mode, which I haven't beaten. Zama, who is Kazuya's mom, and she turns into a demon too. But you get that, and you get a rare treasure. And then there's heist matches where you'll fight a character who's dressed up in a costume, and it's a difficult character. And as you beat them, you unlock pieces of that costume.
I see.
So stuff like that. So yeah, that's but treasure mode's a lot of fun. You get a lot of cash from that. Now, I want to talk about the online mode because the Tekken community is actually fairly good. I have not run into hardly, if at all, any shit talking, really. I've had the most annoyances in tournament mode, which I'll talk. But I haven't really run into a lot of shit talking. Quitting is down to a minimum. I think I had a quitter today, and I had a quitter about 3-4 weeks ago. Now, the way Tekken deals with quitters is there's a penalty applied to you, and there's a scarlet letter-esque system. So if you quit somewhat, your name is in yellow. If you quit a lot, your name is in red.
Oh, okay.
And I ran into someone, he beat me, but his name was in yellow.
Okay.
So yeah, so I'm thinking that's really doing an effective job to discourage people. And that's one thing I think Street Fighter V has yet to get right, is that. Because it's still easy to quit out in that game. And then it's kind of weird because, like, you know, like we're like certain companies are so kind of like averse to shaming people who are rage quitters that I feel like, you know, like, hey, you know, like you should probably consider actually doing that, because that way you can kind of clean up your community. I'm not a fan of people who basically like just kind of allow like these guys to just keep doing what they're doing without any sort of like, you know, recognition, well, negative recognition for that matter, to the community, so that way like the rest of the community can shield themselves from these people. You know what I'm saying? Yep. And that's the thing with Tekken 7. But I'll tell you this. One time there's a slight little problem though, and it happens once in a while. I was in the middle of a fight. I had won the first round, and I was about to win, and then it started to sink, and it cut me out of the game, right?
Oh, it kicked you out of the game?
Yeah, and guess what? It said I had quit. And it's like, why would I quit that match?
Mm-hmm.
I was winning, but I got penalized somehow.
Oh.
But I didn't get the letters. I mean, I think you have to do it a lot consistently to do it.
Right.
But I've only been accused of that once, and I don't know if you can even redeem yourself from. They've been kind of vague. I've looked for answers on it, and they've been kind of vague on how the system exactly works. But it does work.
I think the reason why they do that is so that people won't game it. You know, like, so that people won't abuse the system and be like, well, if I only do like these clean matches, then, you know, I can get out of, you know, like the red, you know, category or whatever the hell, you know. So I think that part is okay. The thing that's kind of like crazy to me still is that in Street Fighter V, they say that they're penalizing people, but you don't really, you know, like there's no identifying thing saying like, oh yeah, this guy's a rage quitter all the time, you know, that sort of situation, you know.
Yeah. So there's that. Let's talk about story mode real quick. Story mode is really good, except for one element. I'll talk about that in a moment. Story mode is he's told, you know, there's a big war between Mishima and Corp, and there's a reporter whose family dies, and they fucking. The reporter, he wants to expose both Mishima group and G Corps.
Okay.
And you know, he tells a story, and it's cool because that's a cool frame narrative, and all the what I like about Tekken is all the voice actors, you know, are from their native language. So if a character speaks Italian, it's Italian. If it's English, it's English. All of them are voice acted well, except this is where my problem comes in. The reporter, Alex, the reporter is one of the worst fucking voice actors I've seen in the game in a long fucking time.
Oh.
He is so monotone. This is how he sounds like. My family died in the middle of the war. I must seek revenge for him. And it's horrible. And I saw people defending this. It's like, it's a fighting game. It don't matter. No, I hate that shit where they say it's a fighting game. Oh, voice acting don't matter. I'm getting sick of that because it's in a certain genre. We should have an expectant level of voice acting at this point where no genre is excused.
Yeah.
Because let me give you a good example. Mortal Kombat X and Injustice have stellar voice casts. Stellar. There's no excuse for this.
You don't want to regress the genre backward. That's kind of asinine, you know? Like, excusing, like I don't get this attitude of people where they're like, well, it's only okay. And I'm like, do you not want to hold, you know, the genre, the game that you like to a higher standard so that they can improve it? Do you just want them to be the same fucking thing? And that's why, like, you know, when you review, like, you know, JRPGs that I won't touch, you know, like people say that I'm overly critical, but I'm like, but wouldn't it be cool? Like, think about it. Wouldn't it be cool if these games actually looked as good as fucking Square Enix titles? I mean, it would be amazing, right? Like, you know, and I'm not saying that they should be, but even stylistically, right? Like, let's even talk about, like, you know, not even Square Enix. Let's talk about Persona 5. Like, that game isn't as, you know, like good looking as like a Square Enix game. It's a different kind of good looking, right? But why can't your game look as good as that? You know, like, and that's kind of like where I come from when I review games or even give you feedback about games that I play that are JRPGs that I might not touch, like Trails of Cold Steel as an example, right? Like, you know, like,
well, you did touch it.
I did touch it, and my feedback is still kind of like, you know, what was my feedback? My feedback was like, this looks like a PS3 game. Which it is, right? You know, like, even if they make like a PS4 game, it's probably going to look like a PS3 game. But,
and that voice acting.
Well, yeah, that was a beef that you had. But like, as far as, you know, like, but that's kind of like where I'm getting at is that, you know, you're paying $60, $50-$60 for these games. Hold it to that price. You know, like, yes, you know, like you can buy it. You know, you can buy Tekken 7 for cheaper now, but that doesn't mean it still doesn't. It still, you know, it can't feel like a $60 game if you bought it at like $30. You know what I'm saying?
And again, other English characters sound fine.
Yeah,
it's just that one, and he's the one who holds the narrative. He's the frame narrative.
He's the glue.
Yeah, and he sounds like shit.
Wow.
Nina Williams, I'll give you an example. She speaks English and she sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
But this reporter, it's like Resident Evil 1 PS1 voice acting.
Jesus. I wonder if they got the guy, like, you know, just right after, like, you know, SAG, you know, like had like the strike and stuff. Because if you remember, like, voice actors are striking right now because, you know, they want more benefits and shit. Yeah, maybe that's why. I'm just guessing, but I would imagine that might be why they had to hire a non-union dude. But I don't know these contracts. I am positing. I am guessing. You know, there's many other reasons why, but that's just really odd, though. To your point, like, why is the reporter the shittiest one? He's the glue that glues things together. Like, why did you hire the crappiest voice actor for that?
So let me go ahead and let's close this out because you got a few things to talk.
Sure.
Tekken 7 is a 4 out of 5. Why? It's a great game. I'm okay with the modes. There's going to be more modes, actually. I mean, awesome. You know, that's good. The season pass is only buy it.
How much is it?
$24.
Okay.
Bad for a season pass.
Mm-hmm.
And then, which include new stages and new characters and new modes and new additions to the story mode. Oh, one thing about story mode too, even though the game doesn't have endings in the traditional sense of a Tekken game where you beat arcade mode and you see some weird ending, and watching some of those endings from older Tekken games, a lot of them don't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of them like, what the fuck? But you do get those because what story mode does is it has a main story, and as you play through it, you unlock more characters, and you can go into a side story mode in story mode. Get that character story and their little ending. So there's that. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. So okay. 4 out of 5 because, you know, of course, the voice actors is shit for the story mode, and arcade mode is pretty pointless. There's really no reason to play arcade mode. But props to Namco for their online game, pretty good, and all that. And as I close it out, as Alex knows, I had an interesting encounter in this game, remember?
Remind me?
WWE Superstar.
Xavier Woods, that's right. He was joining your game or something, like a tournament.
Joined my tournament, but too many people quit and the tournament ended, and I had a little exchange with him on Twitter.
Yeah, I saw that. That was pretty cool.
So... and he seems like a cool dude.
He is. He's totally a cool dude.
Yeah, so I almost played Tekken with the WWE Superstar.
Dang it. So that, man, maybe you'll see him again. You know, that's pretty cool, man.
I didn't even get to talk about tournament. There's a lot to talk about this game, but I'll talk about it more in the coming weeks.
I'm pretty sure you'll still be playing Tekken 7. So
yeah,
that's really super exciting. Now, you know, I'll tie in Tekken 7 to this next game, like, but you need to remind me, Anthony, because it's been a while.
Okay.
Have I actually reviewed ARMS?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
No, I think you might have. I don't know.
Well,
I think you did, but I could be wrong.
Okay, I don't remember. So that's kind of a bad thing. So
give it a score anyway, just in case.
So like, I'm gonna take this opportunity to kind of like maybe talk about the game again, because I have been playing it. My buddy actually bought it for the first time because I actually helped him get a Switch a while back. It was like a week ago or something like that. Remember when I was like texting you and saying like, dude, they have like Amazon stuff, and if you had the money somehow, I would have actually like helped you get it, but unfortunately that didn't happen. But,
I didn't have any money.
Yeah, which is okay. But you know, like I wanted to kind of like really talk about you know, I wanted to kind of, you know, play the game with him. He got the game, and you know, I noticed a few things because I actually finished the game. Well, first of all, I'm kind of looking through like our archives too. It doesn't look like I've actually reviewed the game, but
okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, but I'll make this short because we do have a lot to talk about. So we played it, and the first match was kind of shaky because remember, like the Switch is always like on Wi-Fi, but like but after that, like all our matches have been really solid. Like like there's barely any lag or anything like that. In fact, it seemed like really, really smooth. And then I actually finished the game on at number 4 difficulty. There are 7 difficulties in ARMS, and it actually rolled the credits. And one of the people in the credits was actually Bandai Namco.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the reason why, as I discovered, is that it uses Tekken 7's netcode.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So, and it's weird because, like, apparently, like, sometimes in Tekken 7, when you do a punch, sometimes it doesn't hit properly, or it's delayed or something like that, and there's, like, a weird rollback that happens. ARMS actually has that happen from time to time if the connection isn't secure. So we've seen that happen in that first match, but then after every single match, it became super smooth. So it's the right kind of netcode for it, and I do applaud, like, Nintendo for partnering with somebody who has some really awesome netcode. So when you said, like, Tekken 7 had great netcode, I was like, yep, it sure does, because it's in ARMS.
Yep, it does. Tekken... I wonder if they still have the same
penalty? Well, they just increased the penalty recently because as of this recording, they added a brand new character, Max Brass, and he's the last boss of ARMS, so he's now a playable character. And there's also, like, a few new things that they added here and there, but it said, like, in the patch notes that the penalty for ranked mode is a lot more severe this time around. So if you basically, like, rage quit and all that stuff, I don't know the rules. They don't go into detail for those things, but as far as I'm concerned, like, that has not been a problem for me. Like, rage quitting has not been a problem for me. Now, I'll preface this by saying, like, I've only maybe played like 15 matches in this version and maybe 10 matches in the previous version ranked, because you have to actually finish and here's the thing that's crazy, Anthony. In ARMS, you will not be able to play ranked mode unless you beat difficulty 4 on the Grand Prix story mode, which is the arcade mode. Yes, so it's completely locked. You absolutely cannot play ranked until you finish the game. So I don't know how you feel about that.
I don't mind it. It brings a question though about arcade mode, the way it's been represented years.
Yeah.
I mean, look at how I remember, there's still the outcry for an arcade mode in Street Fighter V, right?
Right.
But look at what other games are doing to it. Like to Tekken 7, it's an afterthought.
Mm-hmm.
It's hidden. You have to look for it in fucking Injustice 2.
Yeah.
Stuff. Look at how games are treating.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think we're moving past the way narrative has been done in fighting games with kind of this weird thinning out of the arcade mode.
Well, I mean, arcade mode is here, right? But
it's there.
But it's not like story heavy. Right? And the thing is that's crazy about ARMS is that all its story is actually being told by the fucking Japanese Twitter account for ARMS.
What?
Yes. I am shitting you not. Like, they went the fucking Overwatch arc where they're like, all right, well, the game is just going to be the game. But if you want to tell a story, let's use, like, our social media to tell the story, which I'm like, wait, what? And there's been, and mind you, like the lore of ARMS has been really interesting because like there are storylines where like they talk about how the combination of the mask and like the arms is actually what's causing those arms to look the way that they are, but without the masks they actually have regular arms for some reason. And there's been a huge conversation about this, like lore, at least in the foreign sector, because unfortunately none of this is being translated into English, right? But there's certainly something there to talk about. Like there's lore about like an evil corporation that created Helix, and created Headlock, which is like the Akuma, if you will, of ARMS. Which, yes, there is an Akuma-like character in ARMS. Guess how many arms he has?
Like 25?
Well, close. 6 instead of 2. Because like it's basically a head that goes on top of Max Brass, the last boss, and he gets 4 more arms which is kind of ridiculous. Oh, yeah. But, like it's crazy. It's a crazy idea, right? But, there is a charm to the game, though. Like, despite the story not being there, despite it being an afterthought, like at the end of like the fourth difficulty, not only do you get credits, but like just like a piece of artwork that kind of represents what happens to the character at the end of the story, which to me it's kind of sad that they don't elaborate on it and stuff in any sort of way. But like you said, it's like, it's arcade modes are kind of like a thing of the past now. That being said, though, I was merely asking you about like the fact that they've gated ranked mode behind Grand Prix, because you can't actually go into ranked mode unless you beat difficulty 4 of Grand Prix. Which...
That's not a bad thing.
Okay. Yeah,
I think that's extends the gameplay a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to me, so, the way that I see it is that it ensures that players are actually ready for other players. It's kind of like a training ground, right? Like if you can beat rank 4, then you're at a good place to start playing against other people seriously. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, it's a good way to kind of like ease people into more competitive play. And I personally thought that was a brilliant idea. Like that you can't just jump in rank. Like, you're learning a game. Why don't you try everything you've learned on the AI first? Then let's boogie. So
I jumped into.
Yeah. I know you did. I know you jumped in like the ranked in Tekken 7.
Yeah, I play a lot of ranked on Tekken.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about ARMS' other stuff. So within a month, they've actually patched in an arena mode. So if you want to challenge your friend, like automatically, you could totally do that. 1-on-1, 2 rounds each. If you're setting up tournaments, it's really easy too. You can now have spectator mode. And mind you, this is, again, within a span of a month, right, that they patched all this in. Stats for your characters is now available, which, for some reason, the launch didn't have it. And, like, the game is still really fun. And the crazy thing is that you can play this game with 2 people locally, online, and go with them together. I've mentioned this before, where you could be 2 people on a local machine and actually play against other people. That's fucking fantastic. What I won't get into today is basically the stuff that I've talked about before, which is balancing and the ARMS and stuff.
Right.
Overall, I feel like ARMS is a fantastic game. And yes, it is thin on content. And that's kind of like why I'm going to only give it a 4, because I am really enjoying the game. Like you say, like one of the conversations we've had, Anthony, is you say like fighting games are games that you can pick up and play at any time and then drop it whenever, right? Like, this is that kind of game. And the thing is, like, you don't have to go to a lab to perfect everything. It's more like a combination shooter, because, you have to kind of, direct the arms to, to where the character is going, and a mix of like, Punch Out, like as I've mentioned before, mixed with a little bit of Power Stone. And I think that that's actually a great combination. And maybe you can chime in on this, Anthony, but I personally like that we have hardcore fighting games. But I also like that because of Nintendo's move towards the fighting game genre, like aggressively, like with Pokken, with Smash Brothers,
yeah, Pokken,
and with ARMS, that they're actually widening the amount of fighting games we're seeing, right?
Yeah, Nintendo's really, really changing it. Now, as for Pokken, I never played that. Have you?
No, I haven't. But the better version is coming out on the Switch. The one that's actually updated with all the arcade, like balance changes and whatnot. So, because I was personally wondering why they stopped updating the Wii U version. Now we know why. Because they were prepping like a Switch version, and that's going to be the version. So it's to me, it's like Smash Brothers. It's kind of interesting because like, I used to be kind of into the idea, then I wasn't. Then kind of seeing like what Nintendo is trying to really do with the fighting game genre, like, and kind of expanding it, right? Like, I'm beginning to kind of come around to the idea that, maybe, Smash Brothers does have a place in this. I mean, heck, like,
I think it does.
I mean, the fighting game community has recognized it, right? Like, it's part of EVO. Like, it's one of, like, it is the game that came before Street Fighter V, by the way. Like, that's, they had so many participants. Now, I'm not going to pretend I'm going to be a pro at it, as with most of the fighting games, but hey, that's one of those games where I'm like, you know what? Like, maybe I'll pop this in and be fun. And I'm hearing rumors that Smash is actually going to be ported to the Switch, so that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, so, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, and Bayonetta 1 and 2, but that's a story for another day.
Yeah.
But as far as ARMS goes, yeah, I'm giving it a 4 out of 5. It's a fantastic game. Free updates moving forward. So they're doing the Splatoon thing. And by the way, I just heard this too. ARMS is selling a lot in Japan.
Really? How much?
I can't give you the numbers, but it's basically like, it's selling a lot more than Street Fighter V. Let's put it that way. It's
okay.
Yeah, and that's why it's actually. And here's another thing too. And I know you don't watch Evo, but there's going to be an Evo Japan. It's the first time we're ever going to have an Evo Japan ever, and it's happening in January. ARMS will be one of those games.
Nice. That's impressive. You know what? ARMS is one of those games I'm going to buy when I get my Switch.
Dude, it's going to be so much fun. I want to play with ARMS with you so many times, because it's it's one of those simple to play games but hard to master situations. I can't say enough praises about that game. I love that game. Like, that's a game that I'll be like, oh well, I have a few minutes, maybe I'll play a couple of rounds of ranked mode. Here you go.
Yeah, that sounds like it's a fun game. I looked at ARMS and it looks unique.
Yeah,
I'm happy with Nintendo is.
Yeah, they're totally killing it. Like, and as of this recording, this Friday, Splatoon 2 comes out, and that's even super exciting, because it's like, man, like they for its first year of a Nintendo console, Anthony, this is a really packed year for Nintendo, don't you think?
It is. Well, I think the closest they came, and a lot of people argue with this, but I'll prove otherwise, is the 3DS launch. But the problem with the 3DS launch is it wasn't as spread out. It was like the first, you got a couple things at launch, kind of empty, but then once that fall season of 2011 hit, they started the fucking launch shit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so I think the 3DS launch was good, but I think the Switch launch is even better.
It is. And, during E3, I remember Reggie saying that they recognized that, on the Wii U, their development schedule was really dramatically slowed down, and they didn't want that to happen on the Switch, which I was like, I nodded my head in agreement, saying like, yep, this is exactly what you guys needed to say. The fact that you guys basically said like, yeah, we need more games. Like, we can't just have a period where a Nintendo platform has no games. That's stupid. I mean, he didn't say that it's stupid, but you know what I mean. It's like,
yeah.
It's an acknowledgement that they kind of fucked up somewhere.
I'm really excited though.
Yeah. Hopefully you get one, man. Like, there's so many. Like, I got an email today saying like GameStop's gonna have it, Best Buy is gonna have it, and Target's gonna have it. I'm like, man, they are ramping up again.
Damn.
So, and yeah, like I said, Splatoon 2 by the end of this week. It's really exciting. So,
good times. I'm glad you got a Switch, though.
Thank you. Even though, of course, you will never let that go.
No,
Switch.
No, because at the beginning of this year, I'll not get one. I'm done with Nintendo. But I'm still glad you got one, though.
Yeah, but remember though, like it's not the attitude isn't exclusively mine as well. Many people wrote off Nintendo. Many.
Oh yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. But I can call you out though easier.
Yeah, because they're not here. Thanks.
Yeah,
asshole.
they're not.
All right, so I played the Destiny 2 beta.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. Like, they learned a lot from the Call of Duty guys in terms of storytelling. Now, you might say, like, what? Storytelling in Call of Duty? What the fuck are you talking about?
But yeah, exactly.
But if you remember, like, in Call of Duty 4, right? Let's go back to that, because that's the last one you played. Like, remember how, like, Commander Price would always kind of stop, look at you and stuff, and kind of, like, tell you, like, like, you know, like what the plan is and stuff like that. Like,
yeah,
they kind of inserted that in Destiny 2, like the opening mission, because you see all three heroes like trying to do their best to do what they do best. Like, you know, like Nathan Fillion's character, you actually see them pop up in front of you and do some badass shit, and, you know, like actually talk to you and tell you like what's going on and what needs to be done, right? And then there's Zavala, who is, you know, voiced by the bad guy of Horizon Zero Dawn, but that's okay. You see him there. You actually like kind of do a fight with him. There's another character, which I'm sorry that I don't remember that character's name, even though like she's my class trainer.
Right.
He's there. But the bottom line is that first, if you remember, the first mission of Destiny, there's no real investment in the story, right? Like, what is the story of Destiny in that first mission? Like, nothing, right?
There's darkness coming.
Yeah, there's darkness coming, which is, you know, what the fuck is even the darkness, right?
There's darkness coming tonight outside my window.
Right, yeah, in everybody's windows. Everybody faces the darkness at some point. But in this one, this is the opening mission of Destiny 2. You already had some personal involvement with the main bad guy. You really will hate him by the time you get to the end opening scene. Mind you, I have no investment in Destiny whatsoever. Like, none. Like, I could play it casually, right? Like, I pop it in from time to time to play it. But Destiny 2 story, that beginning, makes you fucking care. Like, it basically says, like, see all the hard work that you've done, and we're gonna destroy that and take that away from you. Even though, of course, I didn't farm for light, I didn't farm for, like, any loot, right? It still made me care about the game. And I hope,
Right.
I hope that the rest of the game makes me care about the rest of the story even more. Because,
not a first day purchase for me though. Sorry.
no, I'm aware, but like so far, like that's what I experienced in that beta. Now, I did try one of the dungeons. They call them strikes in Destiny 2.
Okay.
But what's crazy about this is that, you know how like in most video games, set pieces are uninteractable, right? Like they're just kind of like happening in the background and stuff, and, you know, like it's just kind of like not really important to interact with, right? Like, but in the strike that I was in, there was a section where you have to approach this huge ass planetary drill that's, you know, trying to dig underneath the ground, and there are multiple blades that are trying to dig the ground, like, you know, trying to dig deeper. That is an actual section you have to traverse. Like, there will be like big ass blades, like the size of your screen pretty much, that you have to either, like, you know, try to get around, like using like fucking 4 different paths, or else you just get insta-killed. This is a shooter. This is not a platformer. But this is epic in scale. This is really difficult to convey, but that image alone was like, holy shit, like this is crazy. Like, I've never played a shooter where it tries to combine elements of, like, you know, like platforming, I guess you could say, or even like gunplay, because there are enemies in this, and yes, they die too, you know, but they sometimes take cover and stuff, and it's almost like, you know what it is? It almost reminds me of some of the more frenetic, like, and dynamic battles in Halo, like old school Halo. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of level of design that I haven't seen from Bungie since they took over Halo, or since they left Halo. You know?
Yeah.
And to me, that's really exciting, because they kind of now know, they're kind of saying like, yeah, we're back. Like, this is the Bungie that you loved. And you know, like, there's even a section of the dungeon where it's literally like almost that first section of Halo 1 where you just dropped on the planet and there's this big expanse and there's just fighting going all over the place, and you just basically like insert yourself in the fight. It's kind of like that. And to me, like, just being able to feel like that you're experiencing the game like that way, like, it almost blurs the line between dungeon and the open exploration. Because, you know, in Destiny, you get open exploration first, where you kind of interact with other people, but then you get into the dungeon area. And in Destiny 1, it's a very clear-cut indication that, oh yeah, the dungeon is starting. But no, in this one, it's so seamless that all of a sudden you're like, oh, you're in the dungeon already. You're in the strike. You know, it's crazy. Now, I'm not saying all this to kind of excite you or the game or anything like that.
Yeah, I still don't trust them.
Right. So, but as far
and
as...
I'm going to warn you, too, as a friend.
Sure.
Let's be honest. Let's look at Bungie's record for storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
How many people have said, "Oh, Halo has one of the best storylines in the video game"? But most of the people who say that, what have they done other than just play the video?
Well, read the other books and stuff, and to that point, because this was a huge concern in Destiny 1. Remember, like, you had those like weird cards and stuff like that in Destiny 1. That's where they disseminated the lore. That's gone in Destiny 2. They're actually going to put the lore in the game. It was actually one of their biggest complaints in Destiny 1. So they're actually going to put all of that and seamlessly like put that in the storyline. Like, it's kind of funny because like one of the quotes that they said was in E3 was to put so much story in Destiny 2 that you can't even story, like in a positive way. Now, again, I'm going to add a little bit of pessimism here and say, like, maybe, like, here's hoping that it lasts up until the end of the game, right? Like, because we just don't know. Like, it's a beta. It's a way for us to experience what they have in store. And to me, like, it's got me excited. Like, there is story. Like, there is more story in this one mission of Destiny 2 than I have ever played in the entirety of Destiny 1.
Well, and that's cool, but like you said, it may fizzle, and that's my worry.
Yeah, that's a valid worry, and actually, I feel like that's a lot of people's worries, right? But let's go to the actual gameplay of it. So, well,
let me say something. I think Bungie, they're solid game developers. Mm-hmm. I just don't think they're good storytellers. I still believe that because they can come up with very good lore. But it's just their stories are just so plot driven.
Right.
And I'll be honest, I have played and beaten Halo 4, and I've never played 5, mind you, so I can't say anything. But I can tell you that 343 Industries do every Halo game in terms of story, in my opinion, with Halo. There was so much story in Halo 4 compared to those other 4 games.
But didn't
what was that last?
Oh, sorry. Like, you kind of cut off there, but didn't you like Reach though?
I like Reach. It's the best story they told, but looking back at it, it was characters die, and there could have been more character development. There just wasn't, and that's the thing that's missing from all these games that Bungie makes. Don't do storytelling well. The only time I think they ever got it right, and I'm gonna go old school Bungie on you folks, is Marathon. Marathon had like almost a sort of System Shock-esque story to it, which is, and it's kind of scary. But after that, it just, I'm being honest, they're just not good storytellers. And I guess if you read the books, they are, but that doesn't count. I mean, in the context of the fucking game. I mean, in the context of the game. I mean, if you read all the books. There's that. As someone who reads a lot, I'd rather not read a Halo book. Most video game books are not that good. The only time I've ever read them is the Mass Effect books, and I felt that was well done, where it didn't interfere with the games.
But also, like Drew Karshipshin, the guy who wrote the books, is the guy who writes the games.
Yeah, that's the big difference. Now, mind you, to be fair, the books introduce. The Elusive Man, very important character in Mass Effect. First premiered in the books before Mass Effect 2 came out. But you didn't need to read that book anyway, even though he was introduced first. They still introduced as if you didn't know him in that second game. So, yeah, the books were supplemental. They weren't necessary like they seem to be for Halo.
Right.
And going back to Destiny, I hope, get it right, and if you tell me to get it right, I'll look more into the game. I might get it for my kid regardless, but will I actually play it? Because I've never touched Titanfall,
Well,
So look, my kid plays a lot of Titanfall, but me, I don't. So
right. Well, for me, like the thing that's kind of different with Destiny 2 for me, like in terms of storytelling, is like I know that sometime in the story, all 3 of those heroes are going to go in their separate ways, going into different galaxies, right? That's and I feel like the reason why they're separating all 3 of those characters isn't necessarily for, to make the story interesting in a way. I mean, it's part of it, right? But I feel like that's where I'm hoping that they're going to develop their characters. What's their motivation? Why did they join this whole thing? And why that part of the galaxy, right? Like, you know, like I'm hoping that it's like some sort of like weird, I mean, again, I'm making all this up, but some weird homecoming scenario where they can actually open up to you a bit more about like their motivations and stuff, and why, you know, they feel like by going there they could find a solution to this problem, which is to eliminate this alien threat. Because that's really like why they're separating, is they can't come back to their home. Your home has been destroyed. It's taken over by somebody else who you have absolutely no energy or no power to be able to defeat.
Not cool.
Yeah, no, not cool at all. Which is why, like, even the world's strongest heroes don't, you know, feel so powerless that they have to venture far and away from Earth to even find a solution to this problem. You know?
Now, let me ask you this about the beta. Let's talk about it from a gameplay standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I can say that Destiny did do right, and I think has done right, you know, done better than even shooters released in the last years, is its gunplay. Gun mechanics are fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Original game. We can't dispute that. So are the gun mechanics just as good in this one?
Oh boy, it is better. Like,
oh wow,
I'm not even exaggerating. It is better. It is more responsive. It is more fluid. It is silky smooth. Like Destiny 1 was already smooth, right? Like you can shoot like fast frenetic gameplay and all that stuff. You can turn around really quickly. They added certain abilities that are kind of like dodges, like for certain characters. I think I was using a hunter, and they actually have a dodge where if you go in a certain direction and you double tap circle, you'll actually like dodge in one direction, which is kind of a new thing for Destiny. So you have like 3 powers now. One is the 4. One is the grenade power, one is the melee power, the super, of course, when you press like both of the, you know, bumper buttons together, and of course the double circle tap. And they also introduced like a brand new level of customizability for the weapons, which I still have yet to kind of play around with, but I feel like it's kind of really cool. And the thing is, like, what's crazy about Destiny 2 is that, you know, like you can carry over your characters, right? But all of your gear on all your levels don't carry over at all, because you're going to lose them all. That's because the story is your home where you store all this shit gets destroyed. And the thing that actually gives you the power, the light, if you will, which is the stupid fucking grind, has been destroyed, you know, or taken over.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And that's such a good. We talked about this many times before, but overall, though, like going back to the gameplay, it's more refined than Destiny, and the level design of Destiny 2, like, it shines. Like, we're not talking like, you know, the zones that we were in where it's like, oh, it's peaceful, I'm gonna ride my bike and go do this there, you know, like, no, it's nothing like that at all. Like, when you get into the game, it's a fucking war zone. You know, like, yes, later on when you're on your way to the strike, yes, you get that big ass area before you actually get to the strike, but there's still battles going on. There are remnants of war all over the place. Something bad happened. And, you know, the only way for you to rectify this is to go through the story. And let me talk about one last thing here, because I think this is really important. Destiny 2 pretends like it's not an MMO, but it sure has those fucking MMO, like, you know, mechanics. Right, like you and I have talked about Final Fantasy 14 mechanics, and over and end. The last boss of the strike that I was in was really cool, because you fought him in these like platforms and stuff, and then the platform underneath you disappears, and you fall really, really low, you know, like all the way down, and then there's another arena there. And the thing is, you have to hit jump before you land, or else you hit falling damage. And then what'll happen is he'll actually like light up the entire floor and scorch it. So you actually have to double jump, so that way you're not going to get penalized for staying in the, you know, it's like hot potato, basically. You have to hot potato out of the floor. And I thought that was such a cool fight. And mind you, you're fighting a boss. You're shooting things while this is happening. You're killing ads. You're killing, like, you know, like enemies. And you're shooting frantically. Like, you can't say that Call of Duty even has something close to something like this. There's none.
Oh, Call of Duty's kind of...
Right. But, like, I'm just kind of, like, drawing a parallel, because, you know, like, you do say sometimes, like, you know, like, I don't know if I'm into shooters. And I'm not saying that this is a game that you should try, but to me, like, it's an interesting, refreshing change of pace, right? Because it's not just shooting. It's something else. It's like platforming. It's like, you know, it's doing mechanics. You know, you're trying to actually physically figure out like the mechanics of a boss. You know, like where can we dodge all these things? Like what kind of attacks does he use that might kill me? And it's rather interesting. And I feel like it shows, like, the dungeon and the opening mission shows, like, that the Destiny team, like, learned a lot. But again, just to kind of reiterate what you said, we don't know if they actually nailed the story. So we'll hold judgment until the game actually comes out for that to happen. So,
well, one thing that I think held back the original Destiny, this one doesn't have a problem. Mm-hmm. Remember, Destiny 1 came out during a time when the previous generation was relevant to a degree.
Yeah, it was still on the PS3 and the 360. Yeah.
Yep. And now it's not. So
yeah, and that really
starting to finally get off that. I'm so sick of. I love the PS3. I love the 360, but stop making games for it.
Right. Yeah. When Stormblood, finally said, like, all right, PS3, bye bye. I was pretty happy about that. And playing through Stormblood, I kind of realized, like, oh yeah, this can't be on the PS3. There's no fucking way.
Oh yeah, I got Stormblood. Forgot to announce.
Oh, nice.
So
yeah. Oh man, yeah. Well, that's a conversation for another day. But, and as far as that goes, like, hopefully, like, at some point when you do get your subscription, I'm gonna fucking power you through Heaven's Word like there's no tomorrow.
Oh yeah, we will.
Yeah.
We'll power through it, but I think right now, if mind switching topic.
Yeah.
Say about Destiny. Let's talk about Sub-Zero.
Oh yeah, the new characters in Injustice. Okay, sure.
So we had Jason Todd come out, and we've had. I don't really like Jason Todd, bad or OP'd. He's just. I love counter characters. That's why I use Asuka in 7. But he seems like he's too counter based. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, way too much. And some people may like that. I do like Sub-Zero. He's very fast. He's mobile, and he has some very flashy versions of a lot of his classic moves, like clone, the ice clone, and things like that. Really quick paced. I also, one thing that I appreciate that NetherRealm does is, again, all kinds of customizable costumes, so you can make. I think, like I said, I'll say my problem with the customizable costumes. They've balanced out the game really well. It feels better now. It does level scaling. When you say I'm a level 14 Wonder Woman and you're a level 5 Superman, right? Your level will go to 14 with me.
Okay.
So they've done stuff like that. The gear system's still intact. It's still, it seems like it's not as unbalanced as before.
Okay.
And I think they're really doing a good job addressing it. I do still have issues that, you can make your DC characters look unrecognizable. That's just a fanboy perspective.
Right.
But Jason Todd and Sub-Zero all have those capabilities. And what's cool is in their hidden arcade mode, they all have their own endings. So I'm pretty so far Injustice with the pass has been great.
Okay, that's cool. The I just want to add something too. Injustice has been dropping in price as of late. So, if anybody out there is looking for Injustice 2, remember to follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/mybacklogbattle. I always tweet these deals. And lately, like, a lot of people have said, like, I might have been, posting a lot of things too much on the Facebook page, so none of these are actually being sent on the Facebook page. So the Facebook page is only basically going to get a lot of the updates from the website. So if you want to get those gaming deals and stuff, follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/mybacklogbattle. So I think the lowest I've seen Injustice 2 is like $40, which, like, it's not bad for a price of a game,
$100 for mine. I paid $100, but I got the season pass.
Yeah. Well, if you got, like, how much is the season pass? Is it 40 or separate? Like, how much?
Yeah,
is it
something. I don't know.
Okay.
But I can tell you though that there are 9 characters.
Okay.
They're adding to the game, and that does not include Darkseid.
Right. Okay. Cool.
So yeah, I like Injustice 2. And its story mode is fucking awesome.
Yeah. I was, talking about Evo again, like, I was really surprised that there was a fucking Catwoman at top 8, which I was like, I like Catwoman in the first Injustice, but holy shit, this person played Catwoman like a fucking god. And, in the Evo top 8, it was crazy. Like, I couldn't even imagine. And again, like, you know, I talked about earlier about, like, I wished, like, man, I want to fucking play Injustice 2 now, you know, like, because, you know, Catwoman was my main in the original Injustice. Then I changed to Killer Frost, and then they decided to remove Killer Frost in the sequel. Can't blame them. But yeah, it's really fucking cool. Like, I'm glad that you're still, you know, getting your bang for your buck for that game.
Yeah, Injustice 2. Yeah. So I think we both have a game each to talk about, at least.
More?
I know you have one more.
I kind of forgot, like, what I wanted. I mean, these are the games that I really wanted to talk about.
Okay, I'll remind you.
Okay.
You reminded me the other day, and you beat. Oh. Let's talk about an old game. Yep, you know what I'm talking about.
Okay, now I know this. It's Castlevania Lords of Shadow.
And then I'll talk about my game, and we can we can do that.
Yeah. So
let's talk about that.
Yeah, I'll do this quick. I actually beat Lords of Shadow and its 2 DLCs. So this, like, I can finally close the chapter in Castlevania Lords of Shadow 1. Like, completely. I don't even have to reopen it, even though it literally is in a book. Like, I don't have to reopen this book for a long time. I have maybe a few comments here and there that I feel like it makes it a relic of its time. And the biggest complaint that I have with this game is that I am playing this, across, away from a TV that is about 55 inches large.
Right.
10 feet away, 10 to 11 feet away. And the characters look like fucking ants. And I wish I was, and mind you, like, I'm going to start with the complaints right away. I don't see the value in basically making your character look like a fucking ant where your actions and motions are almost incomprehensible. There is a platforming section in the game where you were so small that you sometimes have to squint to kind of figure out, like, hey, is this a ledge? Is this your buzzsaw moving left and right?
What the fuck is this? What am I on?
Yeah, I don't even know what's going on. Like, the way that they represented the buzzsaws are colored blue and colored red, because they knew somehow that if you were sitting that fucking far, you won't be able to see them. And I'm like, come on, guys. If you're trying to represent, like, lethal things like buzzsaws with just color, maybe you didn't design this section right. And that's kind of like one of my biggest complaints with this game. And mind you, like, in terms of production quality, the production quality in this game is absolutely fantastic. By the middle of the game, I didn't even care about the fact that Dracula wasn't the last boss. I just cared about, the characters that they introduced. Like,
the story's really good. I agree.
The story's fantastic. The battles are great when you can actually see what the fuck is going on. And they're suitably epic. Now, sometimes they do employ this really persistent camera, as if, like, the camera guy, consumed like 4 liters of Coca-Cola, because it will never, ever be, like, stationary. It will always shake, even when you're not moving. I don't know why, but the dude has caffeine shakes. It's crazy. And, sometimes it's dumb. Now, that being said, the DLC is kind of almost a waste of money, because they're actually super short. And they maybe add, like, a few layers of story to, like, what was going to happen with Gabriel, which I'm not going to spoil here, even though it's been years. But, like, it's certainly sets up for the next 2 games. And I kind of want to play the next 2 games. That being said, like, it's, again, I'm going to reiterate this. This is not a knock on the game. I'm going to give it a 3. Because I feel like it is a fantastic and gorgeous game. My feelings of it are very similar to DMC Devil May Cry. Like, if you're open-minded enough to step out of, like, the established franchise and kind of really discover, like, what it means to, try to reboot a franchise or even try something new, right? I think Castlevania Lords of Shadow is a really good game to try that out. And, and I feel like at the time, a lot of people unjustly basically said, like, oh, this is just God of War. I'm like, yeah, but so is Devil May Cry. So is God of War itself, Like, there's so many games. Like, it's a genre. Like, the stylish action genre is a fucking genre. Of course it's gonna play like God of War, heaven forbid, And I feel like, like, they kind of, like, people got so hung up on that they just use that as like ammo to kind of really poo-poo the game, despite, you know, like what the positives that the game had going for it. I love that the guy who plays Rumpelstiltskin in Once Upon a Time is playing fucking Gabriel Belmont. That was great. Patrick Stewart is in it. That's fucking fantastic. I mean, come on, like if you can still get this game, give it a try. It's really good.
The voice cast, the second one is equally.
Oh yeah,
yeah, it does.
Yeah, I will tackle
Isaacs as the main villain.
Who was he?
He's in a lot of movies. Look it up, you'll recognize him.
Okay. Yeah, he actually, I think I know your character you're talking about. He does show up at the end of Lords of Shadow. So
yeah,
so I will continue with it, playing the series, and because I've been in a Castlevania kick lately. I watched like the Castlevania Netflix. It's fucking great.
It is great. Best video game adaptation.
You've watched it?
It's great. It's a good setup for season 2. I think that's my problem with it though. It's really good, but it's a setup.
Dude, tell me about it. Like, why is it 4 episodes?
They should have hold it off for at least. They're doing 8 more though, so that's good.
That's good.
And
hopefully
it's
sooner
gonna,
rather than
and
later.
from what I understand,
Mm-hmm.
Dracula 3, the Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse, which is a game I like a lot.
Yeah, it's a great way to start, you know, like that series, and it's so fucking brutal. My God, how violent that series is.
Yeah, it's
so
good though. It's really good.
Yeah, so you guys haven't checked it out, or if you have checked it out, you know, like email us podcast@mybacklogbattle.tv. I want to talk about this more, but we don't have time to talk about that now. But hopefully next week, guys, if you guys want to kind of, you know, like add a little bit more comments about the Castlevania Netflix stuff, I think that's really important. Like I want to talk about this, but I can't. But
you know what? We'll talk more about it next week. And you know what? I was going to talk about Fire Emblem Echoes, but I hold off a little bit more on that too.
Okay, so I think if you get more time, maybe we can talk about it a bit better. You know?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I need a little bit more time with the game, but it is an interesting deviation from other Fire Emblems. And just to let people know, just a real.
Mm-hmm.
This is based off of an older Fire. This is a remake of an old Fire Emblem Gaiden, which means side story. You know,
mm-hmm. Yeah,
which is still, you know, like. Again, it proves that Ninja Gaiden was called Ninja Gaiden because Gaiden sound cool.
Yes, absolutely.
So we've been playing Ninja Side Story all this time.
Yeah, it's the side story to the side story of side story. And you know, like I do want to talk about like Zodiac Age, but I haven't played it quite a bit lately because I've just been like really involved in so many other games. I feel like, I mean, even next week, I feel like I'm gonna talk about Splatoon 2 over like any of the other games too. So it's rough, man. Like it's 2017. It's crazy. Like it's still about to get crazy. I mean, next month, like what? Like Yakuza 0 and the Rabbids game and Uncharted 4 Lost Legacy. Oh my God! Like kill me now. Like seriously.
This fucking year.
All right, man. So. With that said, we do want to kind of encourage you guys to email us at podcast@mybacklogbattle.tv, or remember, we have a Facebook group. Just look for Backlog Battle Community. Just, you know, we'll be there and stuff. Post anything that you want. We'll respond to it as much as we can. And of course, we do want to remind you guys that we do have a website, mybacklogbattle.tv. Somebody actually said they didn't even remember that we had a website. But I post some really cool shit in that website. Like, I want to say like somebody made, because Fire Pro Wrestling World came out on Steam, which is like a kind of like a wrestling game where you can make characters. Somebody made a video where Brock Lesnar fought a fucking bear. Like, well, I mean, you have no comments on that, but I guess it's kind of like a weird situation. But in any case, guys, thank you very much for joining us. Remember, email us, podcast@mybacklogbattle.tv. Visit our website, mybacklogbattle.tv. And of course, oh man, I'm blanking. Community page, Backlog Battle Community, podcast community. So until next week, guys, we'll see you guys later, and happy gaming.